Hello, I'm David.
Hi, I'm Julie.
So now we're going to do a review of Raptor, which is part of our series of games with dinosaur themes. And so this is a two-player game. It's asymmetrical, which means each side has different powers. Chess would be symmetrical, where each side is balanced. Each player starts with the same pieces and the same abilities. But here, it's raptors versus scientists, and the scientists are trying to capture 3 baby raptors to win, and the mother is trying to get at least 3 of her baby raptors off the board to win. So this is by Matagot, one of our favorite publishers. If I were to remind you what games they have, you
Because
would
I
agree.
couldn't tell you.
Yeah, and it's ages 10 and up, two players, and it takes about 30 minutes, but it can go a lot quicker. I think our playthrough was only about 20.
Yeah, I think we did pretty fast.
Maybe even 15. All right, so you're going to set up the board like this randomly. These 6 tiles here, and these edge tiles. It has, notice it's these half circles here, because that's where the babies need to get off the board to win. And you can play a desert side, or to show the other side here.
Got it.
And it's just for aesthetic purposes. It doesn't affect the game.
I like this side better.
Yeah, I like the jungle side too, because it's like the movies. And so when you do set up, you'll see there's spaces here without circles. That's where these rocks go. And these block line of sight. In other words, the scientists cannot shoot their tranquilizers at the mother, which slows her down. And you can't pass through them. You see there's fires here. The scientists can place fires. The scientists can move through the fires. But the mother and the babies cannot. So that's a way to protect the scientists, because the mother can get next to a scientist and basically eat them, or wipe them, kill them. You don't eat it right then and there. So if I show you on the camera here, the mouth is just open enough here for the mother to put the head right in there. Okay, just like you see in the movies, and snaps the neck of the. It did do that in one of the movies. Anyway, I just noticed that. So the scientists are going to start off on the edge, 2 on each short edge here, wherever they want. And the mother needs to be placed. And I'm just removing the pieces from the playthrough, the how to play and playthrough. The mother has to start on one of the 2 middle tiles. And so I'm going to want to start behind in a spot where I'm out in the open, because the scientist can go right here, shoot at me in a straight line, as long as it doesn't pass through another scientist, because other scientists block line of sight. But a scientist who's frightened, meaning that the scientist will have to use an action point to stand up the scientist. But if the scientist is laying down, or if there's a baby between the mother and the scientist, there's nothing blocking it, in other words. So I got to be careful not to be on the open, because then they can take what's called an aggressive action and give me a tranquilizer, which I'll explain how that makes it harder for me to move. So I don't want to start there. I'll start behind a rock. And then now my babies will be 1 in each tile. And I'm going to want to put them behind rocks too, to protect them. 1 per tile. I'll put this one here. Make it harder for the scientists to get to them. And I'll put this one here. Actually, right there. All right, so I've placed a baby on each tile. You don't start on the same tile with the mother. The scientists start out, so we'd probably do something like this. Start out on the edges. Now when she brings in more scientists, playing cards like this, they start out on the long edge. And with this card, she can bring in 1 or 2 scientists, and they can even go on the same edge if they want. Now this would be a bad placement, because then the mommy can kill them. And so how do you win the game? As I mentioned, the mother has to get 3 babies off onto the half circles, or eliminate all scientists on the board. Not all scientists that Julie has access to, because Julie has this many more scientists to use in the game. So she has a possibility of basically 10 scientists. Now I've never done that. I don't think we've ever played a game where I've killed all 10. But if I eliminate all that are present on the board, then I would win. Julie wins by capturing 3 babies, or sedating the mother 5 times, which you use these counters to do that. So if I have 5 of these counters on, I'm basically out.
Yep.
I
You're
lose.
sleeping a long time.
Yeah, as I destroy the board.
And he just straightened it, bless his heart.
It's okay. My type A-ness here, I have to get it back.
See, to me, I'm like, it's fun.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the mechanics. We each have a deck of cards. You're going to start out with 3 cards. And there's different things that you can do. They're numbered 1 through 9. So whoever plays the lowest card carries out the card action. So if I play this 1, go ahead and select the card, and Julie plays that 5, this means on this particular card, I'll just go over it real quick on the other camera here. This means that I move a baby to the tile where the mother is. And then I shuffle my discard into my draw deck. So this is a way to recycle your cards quicker if you want to play that. Sometimes you hold this back and you'll even play it. This means the mother goes into hiding. I observe, and then she can pop up anywhere she can on the board if she can get to it. So for instance, if there was fires, well, you can't go through other things. You can't use half circles to move through. So I couldn't pop up over here because I can't go over the baby or go through the fires. So those little rules like that you got to remember. All right, and then the 3 and the 8, I can frighten scientists. Which means you'll have to take an action to stand up. So it slows down the scientist. 4 is like the 1 card, except without me reshuffling the deck, I get to bring 2 babies to the same tile. And if there's a baby already on the same tile with the mother, I can just move it to a different part of the tile. And again, I have to follow the same rules. The babies just can't get there if there's fires or rocks. They have to be able to draw a path to wherever I send them. And then 5 and 7, I get to remove tranquilizers from the mother or wake up the babies. 8, I already explained. 9 is a card where this will give you a lot of actions if Julia plays a low card. Now let's take a look at Julie's cards. She has 1, she puts a baby to sleep that's on the same tile or adjacent tile. So if she were to play this card, she can put a baby to sleep here, 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 and here. Sleep doesn't mean they're killed. It means they're sleeping, okay? And then 2 and 6, she could bring in 1 or 2 scientists on the long edge of the board. 3 and 8 allows her to use Jeep movement to move quickly through the board, through the terrain. So if for instance, she played the 8 tile, she can move the same scientist multiple times. I mean, she can move this one all the way right here in a straight line on the Jeep. And then she can move this one here, this one here. She can even move 1 twice if she wanted to. She can move this one, like, say, for instance, 1, 2, 3, 4, if she really wanted to get that scientist over there and do 4 Jeep movements, okay? And then this one is just 2 Jeep movements. Now, if she goes across any fires, she puts them out with her Jeep. So she's got to keep that in mind. Now, this allows her to light fires in adjacent spaces. It doesn't have to be the same scientist. So she can have 1 scientist put a fire here, another scientist put it right there. But it has to be adjacent, not diagonally. And by the way, movement cannot be diagonally as well. This allows her to put 2 babies to sleep, again, on the same or adjacent tile. And here's her 9. Now, what we do then is we start out with 3 cards. Julie would, here's her 3. I got to shuffle mine up a little bit. And here's my 3. And it really matters here who plays the lower and who plays the highest. I didn't even look at my card. Now that wouldn't be a good, this is a good card for me to play if she had played a lower card. So for her, she would bring in 2 scientists. She'd probably want to place it next to the babies. Because she has a lower card, so she carries out the card's abilities. Me, I subtract having the higher card from the lower card, so I have 1 action point. So I can move, my actions are, I can move the mother or a baby 1 space. If I'm next to a baby that's sleeping, if it's not on the turn that they were put to sleep, I can wake them up. So let's say Julie had played
That one.
this card. and put that. Well, she would have to have.
Maybe this one.
No, well, it's okay. Say it's that one.
Okay.
You put that one to sleep because you had this one's adjacent to that tile. I cannot wake up that baby on the same turn that it's put to sleep. That's an important rule to remember. So I can move a baby, move the mother, wake up a baby that wasn't put to sleep on the same turn, and I can put out fires with the mother. So if it was a situation like this, I could put out this fire, and all fires adjacent to it get put out. So this one does not get put out because it's not adjacent to the fire I put out. The other thing I can do, I can attack a scientist and kill him, remove him. So those are my 4 actions. Now, if Julie had played this one, I'd have 6 action points. But let's say I played this, and Julie played this. I frighten a scientist, and then she would have 6 actions. So what are her actions? She can put a baby to sleep. She would do it here. Then she can move a scientist, 1, 2, and then 3, pick it up. Now, why did I do 2 different scientists to do that? Because a scientist can only take 1 aggressive action. So a scientist can put a baby to sleep. It's right here behind the mountain. Say it's right here like this. Puts a baby to sleep. That's aggressive action. Capturing a baby is a second aggressive action. So that means, remember, that scientist can only do 1 aggressive action. So that's why a different scientist would have to capture that baby if it's on the same turn. Now, a scientist on the next turn could capture it if I don't wake it up. And then the third action is shooting a sedative at the mother. Now, one thing I didn't mention is that if the mother is sedated, that means now if it was a situation, if it was reversed, I would have 7 actions. But if I activate the mother, I lose an action for every sedation. So if it was a situation like this, if I activate the mother, I'm going to lose 3 action points. So now I would only have 4 actions with the mother being that sedated. So as I mentioned, the scientist can shoot a sedative at the mother, put a baby to sleep, capture the baby, and just move around. So you do that until, like I said, 3 babies get off on these half circles. The scientists capture 3 babies, or I eliminate all scientists on the board, or the mother has 5 sedations. So there you go. That's the advantage of explaining that back to back. That was a little bit quicker than.
So now you want to hear our pluses and minuses and all that good stuff? Well, we're going to tell you how we did it.
Yeah, neutrals too.
No, neutrals. Yeah, I forgot about them. Okay, so I go first.
Okay, so let me go to the right camera here.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
All right. I think the dinosaurs are really cute. I mean, these little babies are they're precious. I know, like, they would kill you, but they're just so cute because they're so little.
Well, in the Jurassic World, he was able to train them.
Oh, that's true.
And Blue became
his baby.
Yeah, Blue became his friend.
Yeah, I would train him too. But I think they're really cute just because they're small.
I'm trying to get it. Well,
You had it for a second.
there it goes.
There it goes. See, it's just so cute.
Okay, back to the.
The scientist pieces, they're average. They're nothing too, exciting. I do.
And there's different sculpts for the.
They're different sculptures, which is kind of cool, but they are what they are. I personally, I guess this is a neutral. It could make your brain hurt thinking about, okay, which card should I pick? What's my opponent going to pick? It gets to be a little strategic sometimes for me. And it got to be very frustrating for me. I was a dinosaurs for a few games, and I was losing all the time, and it was very, very frustrating. And I think it can be very frustrating if you're playing, I don't know the right term, but I called it a super gamer, which is someone like David who's been playing
alpha gamer, an experienced gamer.
so much longer than I have, and can also envision things a little bit better than I can. And we did play this last night, and I'm not going to lie, I got very fussy because I was very frustrated.
Well, you played the Raptors.
And I did play the Raptors.
And then when you played the scientists.
I did better, but it still was frustrating, and it still made my brain hurt. So, it's just me personally. You may have a great time with it, and it may not, none of this could be a problem for you. This is just what my feelings were.
Well, it was frustrating because you weren't winning.
Yeah.
And you like to play the dinosaurs, so
because they're cute.
When we played a couple weeks ago, you lost to the dinosaur. When you played last night, you lost, and that was frustrating to you because you're thinking that why aren't I doing better?
Right.
Well, you're going to see in my review here, the Raptors have a disadvantage.
Oh.
So when you played the scientist, then last night you won, and in how to play and play through, you won as a scientist. So
I did. But I still didn't get like all, woo, that I'm going to change what my rating is, because again, it still was a little frustrating and it still made my brain hurt. And those are reasons why I picked the number you'll see. So,
well, it is more challenging for people who aren't as strategic, as you're
Correct.
saying, as an alpha player.
yeah, I didn't know the right word.
So you're going to see a lot of minuses for me, but you're going to think that my rating won't be good. So a thematically tactical 1 versus 1. I mean, this is definitely, if you like asymmetrical games where it's player versus player, we have different powers. A lot of miniature games are like that, for instance. War games, this is up your alley. But it's cool mechanics and fast gameplay. The fact that you have, these different abilities and cards. I mean, it really works with what you got to do, right? The scientists trying to capture, so their cards do that, and the things that they can do is what humans can do in real life. Start fires and drive
Right.
jeeps and things like that. And whereas the mother going into hiding, I mean, it just thematically works, and it's fast. So if you want to get a quick game in between a more complicated or a longer game, this is the game you might pick. So I agree with Julie, learning curve for less experienced players. So this can be overwhelming. Definitely can be overwhelming for somebody who's not used to these type of games. Mm-hmm. Now, Julie doesn't give herself enough credit. She does well. Mm-hmm. And she has played thousands of games, but she's comparing herself to me, who's a published game designer, who's been playing Dungeons and Dragons and war games since the 70s. I mean, I started playing D&D when I was age 8.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a lot more experience. Now, if you were to play somebody who's not experienced, she'd probably beat players who are less experienced.
I don't know. Maybe.
I think so. But somebody who's not used to playing hobby games, the learning curve, which relates to the rule book, is that there's buried rules makes the game challenging to play correctly. Mm. So for an experienced gamer, you'll understand it, but then you got to ask yourself, okay, I have to remember some stuff here. Okay, it's kind of buried here, but you'll have some key rules here in one sentence here, and then one sentence here, and then the line of sight rules and the blocking, how you can move through things. You got a reference here for the scientists, and then reference here for the raptors. So for someone who's not, so they're kind of buried. So that makes it a harder learning curve for less experienced players in. So you might not play it correctly because of those rules being buried. And so it's not quite symmetrical, which is a minus. And I know this is an issue because the second edition, they are changing one of the cards on purpose. So Bruno, there's 2 Brunos that designed this game. I don't remember which one, as you'll see right here. I'm not too sure which one responded to in Board Game Geek. Some people saw a playthrough. I guess one of these cards, I don't know if it's both or one. Where's the other one?
Oh, it could be up there, honey.
I don't know if it's the 2 or the 6. They're changing it now to 1 scientist to make it harder to get out more scientists. So, and the designer said, yes, we changed that to make the game more balanced. Mm. So even the designer admits that the Raptors have a hard time. So I'm okay with playing the Raptors, though. So me being a more experienced player, I'll play the Raptors, and I think it's kind of fun to have a challenge to try to win with them. Some people might not like that, though. If you're both equal players, it's going to be one of those situations. Who's going to play the Raptors? Because I don't want to play them because I'm going to lose. Right?
Yeah.
But if you're playing me being more experienced, I'm actually okay with it, and it's kind of fun to have a challenge to win with them. And I almost did in the how to play.
Yeah.
So it has decent art. Mm-hmm. Okay, definitely gets you the theme. Mm-hmm. Okay, but the components are average to below average. Now this makes me think: did Matagot have much faith in this game? Did they, when they did these sculpts, And they do games where the scopes are a lot bigger. I mean, you could have made this a bigger board with bigger miniatures. I mean, you still got to pay for someone to sculpt this.
Yeah.
It's still injection molding, which is expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But they did, what is this, 12 millimeter, 15 millimeter? They could have did 25, 30 millimeter miniatures, which they've done for their other games. Mm-hmm. So did they not have the confidence in this game when they first published it not to do that? And the cards they're not linen. In other words, they don't have a foil stamp over it, so they're just regular cards. The cardboard is average thickness in today's gaming. I mean, it's not bad. It's not great. Okay. So it makes you wonder, did they do miniatures and things like this? You can do, I mean, this game retails for about $35. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's why they did that, to get the price point down. But now, with this game being so popular, you could have done a Kickstarter and done a much more blinged out version where everything, it'd almost be double the size. You have a bigger board.
Game will be like that.
No, I don't think it will be. So they could have done a Kickstarter to see if people were interested in playing an upgraded version of this game with better pieces. I mean, look, the reference sheets are a little thin like that. I would back that with better pieces and such, and you can even include maybe some, an expansion with it to expand the game. Maybe you actually have actual Jeeps they can ride in. Maybe little fire miniatures, that are 3D. And, you can sell it for 60, 70, 75 bucks, and people would buy it on Kickstarter. So that makes me wonder, when they first came out with this game, did they not believe in it enough to have a higher price point? Because the component quality matches the price point, all right? So for me, it's a neutral because I get what they're doing, but I would prefer them coming out with what do you call it, a special edition. That'd be cool to see that. All right, so let's see how we rated it.
Okay.
So despite all my negatives, I gave it a 7, usually willing to play.
And I gave it a 6.
And the reason why it's not higher for me is because of the Raptors have a disadvantage, and it can be difficult to find a player who could be competitive enough for me. If I were to play my sons, I would have to give them the scientists all the time. Or if I played Julie.
Yeah.
So that's an issue with the game. And now if I were to play my older brothers, it would be more competitive, and then it'd be like, all right, who's going to play the Raptors now, because they're probably going to lose.
Yeah, I could see that.
Even more so likely to lose. But at least with playing somebody that's not as competitive, I actually have a chance to play as the Raptors. But some people don't know that when they go into this game. No. You would have to play the game a bunch of times to figure that out.
Right.
And so what would you like to add, honey?
Nothing really. I pretty much just said everything I want to say. I mean, I do like it. I have to admit I like playing the scientists more. But it just, like I said, it can be a little bit of rather frustrating for me. And my brain, I'm ready to not do another game right now. I'm ready to go take a nap.
So keep that in mind. Who you're going to play this with, how experienced they are, and if they are less experienced, will they want to play the scientists? And
because you don't want to play the dinosaurs, I'm telling you. If you're not experienced, you're going to get your buns kicked every time.
Maybe the new edition, maybe they made some changes besides the one I've shown that would make it more competitive.
Maybe.
I don't know. But even then, you have to ask yourself, who in your gaming group, are you okay with playing 1 versus 1 games where you're basically going after the other player the whole time? It's
just.
Whereas when you play a game like Azul, you kind of you are in competition with the other player.
But it's not so cutthroat. It's not so.
I
like it. If I had a choice, I would play Azul over this.
Yeah, this is definitely, you're attacking each other the whole time.
And I just don't like things like that.
And so some people have a problem with that. And so you have to ask yourself, is that a type of game where you want to play where you're constantly at conflict with each other?
That's why I don't play war games.
Well, yeah, and that's why you rated a 6. And for me, a 7, because I know I'm not going to find, I don't have people like my older brothers who if I was younger and we weren't married and, you know, how many years ago? 30 years ago. Yeah, we would have been playing this all the time.
You would have.
And I would have been playing this with my friends in high school and in college. We would have been playing
Definitely.
this. But now, our situation, our life situation, my boys, they would be frustrated because I'd be beating them all the time unless I let them play the scientists.
Just like their mom.
Yeah. All right. So thanks for watching.
Thanks so much, you guys. We hope you had fun, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.